In this video, we're going to check the uh, connectivity between our computer and our Arduino board just to make sure that we can communicate with the board. So by now you should have a Arduino board, and you should also have the Arduino software loaded on your computer. If you don't have the software loaded yet, remember you can go to the Arduino site and click the Downloads tab, and you'll find the appropriate um, version for your operating software. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead. Remember, you should have a USB cable, and just like the one that I pointed out in the earlier video as far as like what's required for these projects, go ahead and plug the USB in into the computer and plug the other end into the USB port um, on your Arduino board. All right, let's open up the software. All right, when you first open up the software, it's going to open up a new, what's called Sketch. Sketch is what we write our code in. And as we get into more, each projects that we get into, we will write our own sketches, and I'll be basically giving you the like inside tips and teaching you the different parts of the language. So all we want to do in this video is just to verify that our software is loaded correctly and we can communicate with the Arduino board. So first things first is go to Tools, make sure and go down the board. Make sure Arduino Uno is selected. You see that there's different types of boards. Also go to Port and make sure that the COM port that's selected has Arduino Uno in parentheses next to it. Most computers have at least 2 or more USB ports, so depending on which port you're plugged into, this number would change, and so you just need to make sure that wherever it says Arduino Uno, that COM port is checked off. Okay. Now we're going to choose an example sketch, one that's already written. So we'll go to File, Examples, Basic, and then we'll go to Blink. So this is going to open up a new window, and in this window you should have you can see that the code is already written for us. Right? Let me maximize this. All right, so if you look at the Arduino board, when you plugged in the USB cable to the board, you should have this LED, this power LED light should be on. It indicates that you have the appropriate power going to the board. And so this sketch is going to, as you can guess, the name of the sketch is Blink. It's going to make a LED light blink. And if you remember earlier in the board overview of the board, I pointed out that this LED here is a test LED. So it'll allow us to write, and you can see that it just went on. So there's a code in there already, which is making it blink. But in a second, you're going to see how we can make this blink faster or slower, just to verify that we are communicating with the computer. So just without getting into technical about the code, we'll get into that later. But everything in this gray area right here, it's just FYI notes. It's being ignored by the board. And then here's where what the board sees starts. In this void setup, the setup section here, this is the initial part. And then in the loop, this is what will run over and over again until you either remove power from the board or download a different program. So let's see. Right now, I'll point out the fact that it says high. That means that there's going to be power supplied. This delay means in terms of 1,000, that's 1 second. So low means there's no power, and then the delay is 1,000. So this is basically blink on for a second, and then turn the blinker off for a second. So we will download, or in this case, upload this file, and here's the button here. And it'll compile. You notice that it's compiling the sketch. If there are no issues, then it'll say done uploading. And so right now you should notice now that this test LED light is blinking. It's on for 1 second, off for 1 second. Now we can play with these numbers a little bit and Um, let's say we'll go down to 1/10 of a second. We'll make it 100. So this should make it blink a lot faster. All right. So, and previous before this started, now you notice it's blinking, but just before that, you notice that whenever you upload something, this transmit and receive LED lights will blink. Just in case you missed it, I'll upload the same sketch again, and you should see these blink. There you go. And then now your test LED starts to operate. One last thing I'll point out, if there's ever an error in your program here, you're going to see this area light up orange when you try to upload it. So for example, I'll move this bracket. Your code that the board recognizes has to be inside these curly brackets. So if I take one of these away, it's going to generate an error. So you see it's generating an error and saying something's expected before pin mode. So here's pin mode, and so we'll look to see what comes before that. Anything, again, anything after these two / lines, the board is going to ignore. So it's looking for something prior to this, and in this case, it would be we notice a bracket. All right. So now we should be able to. So now upload successfully. All right. So at this point, hopefully that your board is working well, and you're ready to move on to the next video.